to all the dispossessed youth of Africa, for perpetuation of communion with ancestral spirits through the fight for African freedom, and in the firm faith that the dead, the living, and the unborn will unite to build the destroyed shrines. Selah.
Hello and welcome, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Saraki. How you doing? How's everything going? I really do pray that you are well in all your ways and that you're moving into living life for truly beloveds on your own terms. We're reporting live and direct from Manda. Whenever you see this, this is where it was recorded. You know, literally a small island off the coast of Kenya, between Kenya and Somalia. And it's just beautiful, totally, you know, bare. Very few people here, absolutely love it. And I definitely highly recommend, beloveds, a mental holiday from everything that is going on. I mean, it's surprising to even think that it's almost 2 years in to this whole pandemic lockdown situation, but those are definitely stories for other days. Special shout out to our Patreon family. Thank you so much for supporting us. We appreciate, love you so much. You know, today I wanted to talk about consensus reality. I think it's so important for us to understand how consensus reality is, because I get so many emails from people asking me, when is Babylon going to fall? How much time do we have? How much time do I have to leave Babylon? How much time do I have to set this up? And you see, time is a man-made idea, beloveds. And we don't reach a certain point in history at a certain time. No, we reach it when there's a consensus. And this is why Babylon has been pushing for the consensus in such a corrupt way. They've been corruptly manipulating and controlling the consensus of the majority of people on this planet so that they can dictate the reality that everyone lives in. So things don't happen when at a certain time, when Babylon says, you know, in Agenda 2021, the entire world is going to be a prison planet. It doesn't happen like that. But they will do. That's their goal. That's their strategy. Like if you look at Agenda 21, which is also like how they plan to literally create a prison planet for the next 100 years, then you'll fully understand what is happening right now. Because they are trying to create a consensus of a certain thing so that it moves things in a certain direction, in the direction that they want. But the reason there's been so much hiccups, you know, to the implementation of the New World Order is because not everyone is on board. Not everyone is in this consensus. There are those that are fighting, and it is a significant number. And that's why we're seeing this back and forth and tug of war. But one thing people need to realize is the world is never, ever going back to the way it was. That world is gone. The thing that we're fighting for now is what this new world will look like. For many of us chosen ones, we're already in the new reality. We're good. But Babylon is literally trapping many who, who have no idea what's going on. Many of the ignorant ones, and trapping them into their consensus. They're manipulating the consensus through media, through running, through constant repetition of like their narrative, of their story, of what's important to them. And I think that's been the most valuable thing for me coming out to the middle of freaking nowhere, has been to see how Babylon's footprint is so much less here, you know? And you really do see the power of the narrative and how the narrative is what is controlling people. It's not guns, it's not bombs. There's no gun being held to anyone's head right now. But mentally, people have been so mashed up. There's been so much that's been done. Fluoride in water, food, toxins in food, toxins in the clothes wear. So much has been done to weaken you to the point where your consensus is just taken just like that. Like you are not, this is not a democracy, beloveds. It's supposed to operate kind of like a democracy. So things only happen when a certain majority of people accept it. That's why there's also such a push for the mandates everywhere. I mean, it's even happening here where hotel workers are being told if you don't take the double Mac, then you got to leave the job, you know? And so why is there such a rush? Because they want the majority of their people to be in that consensus so that now that consensus dictates what the world looks like to all of us. Because it's the majority rule, beloveds. But the majority are not ruling by their own free will. The majority are being manipulated by the minority who have understood the science of consensus and the power of consensus and how consensus drives this reality. And they have ordered the reality to totally dumb people down and bring them down spiritually so that you can be made to agree with what is going on. You see, everyone is here to create their own experience. I'm not here to create your experience for you. You're not here to create my experience for me. But Babylon has made so many people lazy so that they create, they create, and not even create, they dictate the experience that the majority can create. And that's why we're seeing such a tug of war right now, because there has been a massive awakening movement. Some can say it's been going on since the 80s, others can say it's been going on for a decade, whatever timeline you give it. Enough have awakened where now we're in a tug of war situation with the Babylon system, and Babylon just can't run amok and decide what is going to be the consensus for everyone. And that's why you're seeing Babylon created this world, and many are creating resistance within this world, which is creating serious problems. And that's why you see Babylon almost rushing to implement their pillars of the New World Order. They're doing the most right now, because it's a race between education and catastrophe. Babylon is a catastrophe, and the awakened ones, they're the ones who are awakening people and educating people, but just by standing for what they want and what they as a creator, what they want this world to look like. But this consensus reality, so the world only changes when the majority of people accept a certain truth, a certain concept. And it's crazy because it's almost like if the majority of the people, this is how crazy it is. If 50 to 60%, who knows what the exact magic number is, of the people were to accept today that the sky is purple, beloveds, the majority of us, the world would see it as purple unless you've opened your first eye. I don't want to get to that, might sound even a bit too crazy. But anyway, let's take a short break. We'll be right back.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, Africa.
Welcome back, beloveds, to Wake Up Africa. My name is Dr. Mumbi Seraki. I'm talking about consensus reality. That's how things are ordered here, and that's why Babylon has focused so much on globalization, bringing everyone into their matrix or their patrix, their system, so that they could now dictate. They could have the majority of people glued in and connected to their news, educated by their system, being fed by their system, being entertained by their system, being religiously taught. I mean, do you see how deep this is? By their system. And then being governed mentally. That's what governments are here for, by the system. The government tells you what the laws are. The government has the police. The government has this. The government has the judges. The government decides if you do this, you have to pay this. If you do that, you have to go to jail for, it's all about governing the mental, governing our reality, because the mental is what creates the physical world that we experience. And we are in a consensus. But you see, now there's a difference, beloveds. And I've been talking about this in previous videos. You see, now when it comes to consensus reality, We are in a new season and a new time. Before, we were in the age of Pisces, which was known as the age of emotion. And so it was like every man had one vote. But now we're in the age of spirit, beloveds, the age of the mind, the age of Aquarius, that they like to call it. And so many are expanding spiritually and becoming extremely powerful. You may not see them, you may never even know of them, but that one person can have an effect on the consensus. They can be like 1 million people. They can be like 10 million people. So they start to affect reality. And that's where this idea of messiahs and God's walking on earth came from, is that someone can be on such a high spiritual level that they're not here to save anyone, but their vibration impacts and orders reality and impacts reality. And such people are existing today. They're not here to save you. As I always say, they're on invitation of Mother Nature, beloveds. And this is something that I was told even in my evangelical days. There's a lady that I met who told me, people like you can never vote. And I was like, what do you mean we can never vote? And she's like, because it's all spiritual and mental, when you take your vote and you put it in that ballot, it's like 100,000 people have voted for your candidate. I mean, it sounds you either get it or you don't, basically. I mean, and if you do, it's going to be a massive key to your awakening. So the more that we work on ourselves, beloveds, the more that we are like 10 people that Babylon is controlling. Then we become the equivalent of 100. Then we become the equivalent of 100,000. Then we become the equivalent of 1 million. Then literally, there's one voice in a nation that can override the consensus reality of that nation. This is why people are gaining spiritual powers. This is why people are making such massive sacrifices spiritually to be on certain levels. It's because we then influence consensus reality. And for many of the great ones that are here among us, the chosen ones, the messiahs, the Christ consciousness, if you want to call it, for many of those that are here right now, as I said, on invitation by Mother Nature, it's not about saving any individual person. You have to save yourself. And then you have to use your vote in this world to create an alternative. Because what Babylon did is they shut out all other alternatives for people's narratives, for people to have, that people can exist and create in. And they made their world, the only way, the only reality. And then they now dictate that world, and people just give their consensus without knowing even that that's what they're doing, because they've just been so conditioned into it. So the reason that we step out of Babylon and then we work on ourselves spiritually is so that we can now bring in another reality. And that reality will override, for those who are ready and for those who choose to do so, will override the new Babylon system that they are trying to create. It's all about the minds of the people. And sadly, Babylon is trying to do it by force now. They're now trying to do it by force. They want to control people by force. And that's why you really have to find a way to keep your independence. Because you see, there's so much I could say about consensus reality, but let me leave it there for now. Just know, beloveds, that you have a huge impact and make a huge contribution to this world that we live in. You have a huge part to play with the choices that you make. If you have no idea what a huge impact, I can't even speak, what a huge impact you deciding to stand firm for your beliefs, to stand for truth has on this consensus reality, and you not bowing. You have no idea how much you not bowing, you as an individual not bowing, is impacting the collective in a massive way. And check out channels like GB Resistance Ruptly, and others, which will show you the massive resistance movements that are happening across Europe. The Zulus came out in South Africa against the New World Order agenda. Until next time, tuko pamoja.